Hi everybody, welcome to today's live watercolor session. I'm Sarah Giese and I am a wife and a mom and I'm also an artist, and we decided to do these watercolor tutorial sessions kind of on a whim, but we've been enjoying them for a month or so now. And this week we just went to 2 days a week, which feels weird. I feel like I haven't been with you guys for like 4 days. It's crazy. Anyway, we're excited to be here with you. We decided that one way to calm our minds, to center our focus on one little thing and put beauty into the world, is to do a little tutorial each day, a little painting each day. Set aside time to just be and to work on a skill, yes, too. That way we can all come together even though we're all separate in our homes. So let's get started. We're gonna paint this Bluebonnet landscape today. So I've been taking suggestions about what we want to paint, and I figured we'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone today. People were asking about landscapes, and then also somebody was asking for bluebonnets, since it is bluebonnet season here in Texas, in the hill country of not California. I used to live there. Texas now. Hill country of Texas. It's the wildflower season. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So yeah, I thought we'll do both at the same time. I don't know what the killing birds has to do with that. I wonder where that comes from. Anyway, we're not killing any birds. We're just doing 2 things at once. Another way to say it. All right, so the colors you'll need for this one could totally vary depending on what colors you want to use. This one's a lot of greens and blues. When I do a lot of landscapes in my regular painting for myself, and never do I use, I wouldn't say never, very, very not often do I make the sky blue. But today we did. So if you have this kind of watercolors, that's great. You'll be using, if you're gonna do exactly what I did, we'll be using a blue, a purple, and maybe 3 shades of green. And then for the bluebonnets, you'll use a blue or a purple as well. We'll need brown for the fence posts and for the tree, all right? I did use my trusty old white paint pen. If you have one of these, that's great. If you don't, you can use white paint, or you can skip it. Really, the only thing I used it on this time was the very tips of the bluebonnets, because they go from blue and purple up to white on the tips. So if you have one, that's great. If you don't, you can just wing it with something else, or just leave them blue. And then the other thing that you'll need today, it's not a necessity, but I'll be using it, is some Scotch tape. Well, this is made by Scotch, but this is what, masking tape. If you have painter's tape, that's even better. That blue kind of tape, I don't have it, but we're gonna use that today. You'll notice that on the edges here, it looks nice and crisp. So most of the paintings we've been doing have either been one singular subject, or if they were branching out, it was okay that it was kind of messy along the edges. That's totally fine if you want to use just your paper like this and have the paint go over the edges. That's going to happen naturally, and that's okay. But if not, this is a little trick with watercolor. You can use tape, okay? So we'll just go through this. If you don't have tape, just ignore this time and go get a cup of tea or something. But if you do have tape, go grab it. And we're just gonna kind of edge off this painting here. It's not coming up very easily for me here. Okay, so like I said, painter's tape is better because it's less sticky. This is really sticky stuff. So I'm not gonna press down too hard, but I am going to go around the edge of where I'm gonna paint this painting. And I'm just gonna put the tape, press along the edge there so that the paint stops, okay? Just kind of that, kind of like when you're edging your painting your trim, right? Same diff. So we're just gonna put this along the edges here. Got a little bit of wrinkly. And really, truly, don't push hard all around, just maybe along the edge where the paint's going to be, okay? Fun new things, yeah? Okay, placing that tape down, just lightly on the outside edges. We're gonna pull it back up off of the paper, and you can imagine if you push down too hard, it kind of rips up. I did have that issue on my last painting. I had done several and it didn't rip up at all. And then the one that I was going to use today, it ripped. Wasn't too bad though. I was able to glue it back down. All right, so just as straight as you can do along the edge, just like that, okay? So now we have our little template. We have our little area that we're going to put the paint, and we'll have nice straight edges, okay? All right, let's start painting. I'm going to use my number 5 brush, just a normal size, middle-sized brush. And if you remember one of the very first tutorials I did, if you were doing that along with me, then we did dragonflies. And we're going to use almost the same technique in this painting. The first part, we're just going to do paint with water all over the sky area, okay? Just fill it with paint, with water, okay? Now we'll go in with a blue, and we'll just drop some blue into that sky area. Just kind of randomly think about how the sky and clouds look. It's really that easy. If you want to be more precise, you can. If you want to think about how you want to, shape the clouds and things, you can. I find that just being random about it is kind of cool to see what happens. So just drop really light sky. Now, this first hill, when you're thinking about landscapes, I'm sure you've learned this in, your first junior high art class, but perspective is everything, right? So when you're looking at a painting, it's 2D, right? The way that we can make it look like it's 3D and it's going away from us, there's depth to it. We're going to have the brighter colors up front, and as you go back, they're going to be less and less brilliant. And then we're also going to have them get things get smaller and smaller as they go farther and farther away. The horizon line, a lot of times you have to look for the horizon line. In this picture, our horizon line's way up at the top because we have mountains there. So, well, I would say this is hill country, so they're hills, but there's some pretty big hills. Okay, so we're going to have the horizon line be way up there, but the things in front of it are going to sit on top of the land on the foreground. Yeah. So, and you'll notice as the fence posts get smaller and smaller as they get farther and farther away. See all that? The flowers are bigger here and they get smaller as they go away. So just tricks to make it look like it's real. If you look at a photograph, it'll be that. Those are the things that are happening in our vision, okay? So this first horizon line way in the back there is a mountain. Now you're gonna be fine just going straight over that tree outline. I didn't talk about putting your outline on your watercolor paper, but I'm assuming you've done that already. You can find the outline in the comments under this video on Facebook. Okay, so we're just painting this just with water, okay, that whole hill. We're gonna go back in with a purple, whichever color you want. I went with purple. And we're gonna go in, drop water along the top edge. So it's okay to go on this tape, and we're just gonna drop the paint in all along that edge. like that. Okay. Now I'm going to add water and allow that to flow down into the rest of the hill. See that? Now it'll be a little darker along the top, and this will be nice and light and airy looking because it's far away. Right? Easy. It's almost too easy. Okay, so now we're going in here, this little hill. We're going to have this do the same technique. This color can come all the way down, or you can just leave it white at the bottom. Okay, so here's this hill. I'm going to make this one green. Now, I'm noticing that my purple has come down into this hill here. And if I put green on the top, that is so wet that it's going to go up into the purple. So I'm going to leave that be for now. I'm going to go to this next this next hill. All right, you can continue on yours, but this is the problem I'm having, so don't do this. You don't want the water on this hill to touch the water on that hill. If the water touches, the water wants to come together, right? That's one of those science laws. So keep the water beneath that line or beneath the water line there. So I'm just going to go in and do this one first while this dries a little bit. Okay. So here we go. And I'm going to go in with a kind of a bright green. Maybe yellow too. So going along that edge, and I'm going over all of the stuff that's drawn in there. That's okay. We'll go back in and cover that up. Yeah, I'm going to put some yellow on the top of that hill. Just kind of add a little bit of sunlight to it. Yep, and down as we get closer to us, the colors are going to become brighter and brighter. So I'm going to add some green in here, some bright green. As I'm getting closer to myself. Okay, and we use water to blend all that in. Okay. I am going to go back and do this hill once it dries, but I don't want it to blend into the back mountain, so I'm going to leave it for now. Okay, so again, if you don't have water flowing over this line, we're going to go in under the line with water. Careful not to touch the paint that's above. And fill this all in with water as well. Don't forget to go between the fence posts because there will be grass between the fence posts, right? All right, and we'll go in with another green, the brightest green. And similar to that dragonfly, we're just going to add that paint in. Okay. Now I'm going to make it so that there's like a little bit of a wet white area, kind of like a walkway next to these fence posts. So I'm going to leave that a little bit white. I'm just going to let this kind of come down here like this. See how that goes? All right. Okay. See if this is dry yet. It's not quite as dry as I'd like it. Okay. So now we have most of the hills done. We'll go back in here. Nothing else is going to touch that. It's not going to overlap anything. So we'll be okay. Now I'm going to take another green. I'm going to use more of like a springtime green. And I'm gonna go in. Well, this isn't dry quite enough. I'm gonna let it dry for a minute. While we're letting it dry, if you're at home, you can use your hair dryer and start blow drying this, and it'll dry like a snap. Use a hot setting, it'll be great. And because we are using a lot of water today, you might find that your paper is wrinkling. That's okay. When you're done, you can iron it. Just turn it over on its back and you can iron, or if you feel more comfortable, put a towel over the paper and iron it out. It works really well. But while we're waiting for mine to dry, I'm gonna let you know about this painting party we're doing tomorrow night. We're gonna be painting this over Zoom. We're gonna have a little painting party. So there's all kinds of posts on my Facebook page about it. If you're interested, I'd love to get to know you and spend a couple hours with you. We're gonna gather all of our supplies, get on the Zoom call, and I'll give you step-by-step instructions. It's gonna be an acrylic painting on canvas, so you will have to go get your supplies. I don't know about where you are. In Texas, Michael's is doing pickup orders. You can't go into Michael's, but you can pick them up if you order them online. So I don't know about other places. If you're all shut down, you know, maybe Amazon could get you there, but I don't know about tomorrow. But we'd love to get to know you and spend a little while with you. So the way you do that is you'd sign up on Patreon. It's $25. That's a monthly painting party subscription. If you only want to do this month's, you want to do April, it's $30, and you can just DM me. That's how you say it, right? The cool kids talk that way. DM me. I thought it was PM me, but like private message, but no, I've heard it's DM, like direct message. Okay, this is it right here. So it's a little springtime painting with lots. It's not the most original. I've seen stuff like this, you know, at Hobby Lobby and stuff like that. But I made my own little version. I thought that's fun to have up in your house in springtime, right? So each month we'll be doing a different one. We've done all kinds of different things, elephants and peacocks and all kinds of fun paintings. So if you're interested in doing that with me, I would love to get to know you. Let me know. You can always start anytime. All right, am I getting dry enough here? I don't know. All right. The other thing I'm doing tonight is we're doing a book study on The Artist's Way. We're on chapter 2 this time. It's been a really great conversation. It's kind of deep. It's thinking through, like, who am I and what kind of things am I made for? You know, God-given talents and interests, you know. What stops us from being everything we are meant to be? So a lot of things, digging up some of the older things that have, you know, lies that we've believed, things like that. But yeah, that's tonight on Zoom. If you're interested in that, you can sign up on Patreon as well. We're just creating a little community of people that like to be creative and think about their own creativity and see what they can do, where they want to go with it. Yeah, love to have you. All right, we're going to call this good. We're going to see if it's dry enough. I'm going to go in. Now we have our base colors. I'm going to go in and see these areas here. They're kind of like hints of bushes is what I thought of. So I put some down in here and along the fence posts and behind the fence posts. And then it's a similar color and technique in the tree branches as well. But first we'll put these bushes in. So I'm going in with like a spring green color. And I'm just kind of gonna put some bushes in along behind the fence posts and in front of them as well, just to have a little bit of a buffer between the hill and the fence post. Makes it a little bit more of a gradual, not as stark. Okay, so we've got the hint of a bush along in here. And then we'll put some more down in here. I'm leaving that a little bit white there so that we can have a hint of a little walkway. All this is going to be covered by trees, flowers and grasses. We'll put that there though. Okay. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of that blue-green color, because we always know we don't want to have just one color going on. Most of nature is a mixture of all kinds of colors. We're not made of plastic. So, going in with just a little bit of color and water. It doesn't look like much, but it will. All right? So that's little hints of colors, hints of bushes. Okay. All right. Now that we have that in, let's work on the tree. This is pretty wet, so I'm going to let that dry. We'll work on the tree branches first, since that's kind of dry. And this is probably dry now too. You might be done with that already, but I might need to work on that. So I'm going in with a brown, just any old brown will do. Okay. I'm using my small brush. This is my 0 brush, just so I can have nice fine lines. I'm not going to touch this wet part yet, but I'm going to start where it is kind of more dry. And I'm going to go in and paint this tree. Now trees, you always want to think about trees. They start thick at the bottom, and as they go up, they multiply, and diversify. So you might start out with 2 or 3 branches, and those branches multiply into 6 branches, and they multiply into 24 branches, smaller and smaller as you go up, okay? So this is one of those you can do whatever you want to kind of things. Just let it flow. You might want to have lots of branches. You might want to have it be a very simple tree, whatever you feel like doing. The tree can go off the side and into the margin there. And just let it be what you feel like. So as you go up, you got branches, and then you're going to branch off from those branches, and then branch off from those branches, getting smaller as you go up. Yep. Ooh, that was not what I expected to do there. I'm going to cover that with green. So I drew out a hint of a tree for you on that outline, but you feel free to do whatever you want. Branches crisscross each other as well. Feel free to let them flow over each other. Branch out. Okay. Now I'm leaving this part until these bushes dry. All right, and while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to use a similar technique to these bushes on the tree branches. So it's a pretty wet brush using my light spring green, and I'm going to go in and just put some leaves on there. Just allowing it to flow a little bit. If you're seeing that your branches were not dry enough and they're starting to seep into the green, you just wait a minute and wait for them to dry up a little bit. So we're going to put this lighter green in, and then we'll go back in and put a little bit of a darker green to mix colors. And the branches, you can see through the leaves, but the leaves would be all the way down in here, right? They're not just on the tops. When kids make trees, a lot of times they'll just put them on the very top. And I'm going to cover up my little mess right there by going over that little area. There we go. All right. I'll go back in with a little darker green, this bluish green color, and mix it in just a little bit here and there. So it doesn't look like a plastic tree. See how this is really bright here? And I don't want it to be so bright. I'm going to go in just with my brush with nothing on it and wick up some of that paint. See how it lightened up? Just kind of sucks it right back out. That's just a preference of mine. It wasn't right or wrong. There's not really much in the world of art that's right or wrong. But there are preferences, you know. I don't really like that. I really love that. Subjective. You always want to be careful not to be comparing and judging yourself while you're doing it, while you're doing anything really, but especially with art. Anything that's coming out of you, have a tendency to want to judge it or compare it to other things you've seen or the ideas in your own head that you think need to be. Yeah, it's easy to do, but we're going to fight it. We don't want that. We don't want that inner critic to take control. All right, this little area here is dry now. I know you probably have it done, but because I had gotten a little wild with my water, I wasn't able to do this part. So I'm going back in, putting water on this hill area. I'm going to make it a similar color to this. Just drop that paint in there along the edge. When I get to this spot, I'm going to make sure I'm not overlapping because this is behind. This one is behind that one, right? So I want to keep it behind. But I also want it to be light so that it looks farther away. just like that. I'm gonna leave it even white at the bottom like that. Okay. All right. We've got our main pieces down. Now all we really have to do is the details. Okay, so as this is drying, let's see how dry that is. So that's not too bad. I'm gonna go in with my small brush. I'm gonna make the fence posts, and then we'll make the bluebonnets all around. Okay, so my small brush, I find that if I leave it in the water too long, it wants to bend over. I don't know if you can see that, but it gets turned, gets bent. So I really have to work at straightening it out. My suggestion would be don't leave it in your water bent in, because I keep having that problem. Okay, so I'm going to use this small brush though, even if it is bent. I'm going to go in with my brown. And just fill in these fence posts here. Just nothing real fancy about this. Just let it be. If you want to make a little bit of texture, like a wood texture, you know, some heavier lines mixed with light lines would do the trick. It look kind of like a wood grain. But don't worry about making it real detailed. Now, and I'm going to just let it go, kind of look messy at the bottom there, because we're going to fill it in with grass and flowers and things like that, cover up that spot. So it doesn't matter if it's straight, just let it end as messy as is naturally happening. And the tops, you know, you could make them square or you could round them off, whatever. I find in Texas here, there's a lot of just very loosely made fences, it seems. It's kind of like pieces of wood that they find, they stick in the ground. We haven't gone this year, but there's a drive called the Willow Loop. Is that right? It's called the Willow Loop Circle or something like that. Drive, and you can't get out. It's just a driving tour, but oh my goodness, it's just fields and fields of bluebonnets and other wildflowers during this time of year. It's a really pretty time of year in San Antonio. Everything's green, but a lot of that new green color and flowers everywhere. I always thought of Texas, before we moved here, I always thought of Texas as kind of deserty, you know, like, ooh, you know, sagebrush and all. But it's very green here, rolling green hills. Well, by the end of the summer, it gets a little bit dry looking, but that happened in California too, huh? Okay, so as we're getting farther away, these fence posts are getting smaller and smaller. Smaller in size and smaller in stature, and then as well, they're going up the picture, right? They're getting higher and higher in the picture. So all those things are gonna give us the illusion that they're getting farther and farther away. They're getting closer together, smaller, and higher up in the picture. They could also get lighter and lighter as well if you have that capacity. If you feel like you can do that. So that baby one in the back is just kind of barely there. Okay. Okay, now that this is dry here, I'm going to finish out the tree trunk. It just kind of goes into this area here behind the fence post. There we go. All right, and then between each of the posts, we have a little bit of a, I don't know, barbed wire or some kind of wire. And it would go around the fence post too. Just lightly with your tiny brush, just kind of connect those. Okay. Nice and loose. All right. Now that we have that fence post in, all we're really gonna do is do the flowers. So we'll notice we're gonna put some grasses in first. We're gonna use that light green and the dark green, just like we've used on the bushes and the tree. We're gonna go in with the light green and make some grasses, and then we'll go in with dark green and make some grasses. And then we'll add the flowers on. We will put grasses all along these fence posts as well. Kind of, the cows haven't eaten right next to the fence post. Gotta have a narrative, gotta have a story. What's the story? All right, so my light green, I'm going in, making some grass, and the grass is just flicks of the brush going up and lifting as you go up so that the tips of the grass are smaller than the base, right? We don't want to have them be thick at the top. We want them to be nice and loose. Now you can see lots of cool starbursting happening here. I kind of don't want to cover all of it, so I'm going to kind of go around some of it and let some of what has naturally happened be showing through. So the cool thing about having the tape here is you can start on the tape and come up from the tape, and that picture will look like it started in the middle of the grass, right? Something you couldn't do if you didn't have that tape there. Now, when it comes to grass, sometimes there's a tendency to put all the grass in a row, like like that. It's not very natural. It's not how grass works usually. Grass is random, it crisscrosses over itself. So let that happen. Make sure you're not putting them in straight lines, all these little lines here. So let them kind of go one side to the next, crisscross a little bit, lean, okay? And we're gonna go all the way up. This will leave that little path there, but kind of go along the path and up to the top of this first ridge, that first horizon line, okay? Now if you're having a hard time with the grass and it's not flowing nicely, like making that motion isn't making the grass look like a straight line, it might be that you don't have enough water on your brush. Make sure you have enough water that it moves nice and smoothly. Okay, and then we'll put this grass all along where the cows didn't eat. All along by these little fence posts. And it could go up on the fence post. All right. That's how grass works. Okay, all the way back here. These little tiny little grasses back here. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go in with the darker green and do a similar thing. Put some over there as well. Okay, the darker green going in just around that grass. Now in San Antonio, everybody knows that you can take pictures in the bluebonnets. Lots of people who see on the side of the road, people stop and take pictures in the bluebonnets. But you gotta be careful because snakes like bluebonnets too. So I always hear about the big scary snake stories when people get out and try to take pictures and then there's a snake. Okay. And I'll put grass up here too on these little guys. Now I'm not going to put this dark grass up here just because I'm going to let that be lighter and lighter as it goes farther away. But down here we'd have the more potent color because we are close up, we can see him. That's how our eyes work, right? So just around these fence posts. It's wanting to be backwards in my mind. I think my water's farther down than I think. I keep thinking I'm getting water and I'm not. Ooh, that's still really wet right there. Got a little bit too much. Okay, so we've got that. Got the grass. Nice and random. Okay. Now the bluebonnets are a bunch of little tiny dots. If you saw a bluebonnet, you would see that it's mostly little buds and they're all like bunched up together. And then as they blossom, they're really still close together. They look like little bunches that get small. They're larger at the bottom and get smaller, kind of like a cone on a piece of like a grass, like a stalk. So the way we're going to do that is use our small brush or any pointy tipped brush. We're just going to use blue, a blue color. You could use purple because they are kind of a purpley blue color. And we're going to go in and just make little shapes with dots. Is this the blue I want? It's kind of a green blue. Where's the blue I was using? I think that's it. Okay, so I'm going to pick a stalk of grass and pretend that that's its stem. And then I'm going to go in and make little dots, small, a few on the top, and then as I get down farther, it gets a little bit bigger. See that? And the ones down here, the closest to the front, right? The down low is closest to us. They're going to be the biggest ones, right? And as we get up the hill, they're going to get smaller and smaller. And that'll give our perspective, right? So down here, this big one is going to go down all the way to the tape. It's big, it's close, right? I'm going to put another close one right here. Smaller at the top, and then as I get down like that. Okay? And as we get farther up, there's going to be medium-sized ones in the middle. And then teeny tiny ones back here. I'm just using the tip of my brush to make the dots for them. See how that works? So you pick where you want them. They're just randomly all over fields. So you pick where you want them and just make a whole bunch. They can overlap each other. You can leave little spots that don't have any. Just randomly put them in there. This is such a Texas picture. I guess it could be like a hills in California, in Central Valley. But the bluebonnets are pretty famous. This area is pretty famous for its bluebonnets. Okay. I'm just going to go around. This is where you just listen to yourself. Think about, where do I want this? And take a picture, take a look at it, step back. Where do I want one? And then you trust yourself and you go for it. Okay. There's no right or wrong in this art here. Now, when you're making the dots, you don't want to make them so dense that it all turns into a blob. Leave some space in between the dots so that you can see the little buds kind of working together to make one thing. Okay, keep going. I've sent out a newsletter today. I've been trying to do it every month. If you're interested in getting my newsletter and I don't have your email, DM me. Give me your email, I'll send it to you. I also posted it, I think, on Facebook, a link to it, so you can find it that way as well. Just a way to keep in touch and let you know what things are happening in my art world. Okay. Do I want any more? I ask myself. It's an exercise in listening. Yeah. A few more over here. As we get up here, we need some. Now, some of the paintings I was seeing of bluebonnets, if the bluebonnets are far away, if they were way out here, it would just look like a blue field, you know? Some of the paintings look just like a blue splotch on a hillside, you know? Not just paintings, but the pictures even did. So as I'm getting past out here, they're getting tinier and tinier, these little bluebonnets. Little tiny. Such a pretty time of year. Okay. I think that's enough bluebonnets for now. All right, I'm going to let those bluebonnets dry. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to look at the painting and see if there's any spot that bothers me that's not quite what I wanted, how I was thinking in my mind. If there's a way that I can fix it or change it, then now's the time. I'm thinking maybe I want to have a little bit more yellow on the hill, maybe I want it to be a little more sunny looking. So I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of yellow and just add a tiny bit of yellow. This is all for you. You are in control of this, so just think through. What do you think? Maybe a little yellow over here too. Okay. And then I noticed that some of my branches did get a little bit wonky when I added the wet for the leaves. So I'm going to go back in and just add a little bit of definition to my branches. I don't know if you can even see that, but I can. So I'm going to make them dark in some places and light in other places, because maybe the leaves are allowing me to see some, and some of the branches are behind the tree leaves, so you know, that would be a little bit lighter. Allow that to show through a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my paint pen, my white paint pen. This is from Artistro. You can buy them online on Amazon. They're at all the craft stores as well. Really handy for when you do watercolor, so you can go back in at the end and add some details. If you don't have this, it's fine. These Bluebonnets look just fine without it, but there's a little bit of an added detail that you can do when you have a white paint pen. So I'm going to go in with it and really just make little dots. So we were making dots with our paintbrushes with the blue. Now I'm going to add a little bit of dots just on the top, because the Bluebonnets get lighter at the top and get darker as they go down. So I'm just going to add some white dots to the blue tips of the Bluebonnets. The cool thing about these paint pens is that they kind of take on the color that you put them on. So it kind of turns a little bit of a light blue color, which is nice. Then it's not stark blue, stark white. It takes a little while for it to come through though. Anyway, just on the tips of these Bluebonnets. Just over here, it's not really even Bluebonnets, just little dots. They're so tiny. And they can kind of come down on these bigger ones, it can come down into the middle a little bit. Just gives a little bit of a detail, definition of where the Bluebonnets start. So this is a technique, this painting off and layering the horizon line. That's something you can do in any landscape picture you want. Then you can add the details in the front, in the foreground. You know, you could do whatever you want. You could have all kinds of different color flowers, or a little barn, or you know, you can picture all of the landscape pictures that you've seen in the world. But that basic technique of layering in the horizon lines is one of those you can use over and over. Okay, so there's the little definition with the dots, and we're done. Next, the only thing to do now is to pull that tape off, which is kind of fun but scary at the same time. So very gently just pull that tape. It's kind of satisfying, isn't it? Pull it right off. Okay, if it starts ripping, stop real quick and try the other side. Oops, see, mine's ripping a little bit, so I'm going to come from this end. I'm sure there's some special watercolor masking tape out there. If you want to get fancy on me, you can find it. I didn't even have the regular painter's tape that I've used before, so it's doing just fine though. And this kind of gives you a natural matte, right? Oop. I ripped it a little bit. There we go. Gives you a little bit of matting, a little bit of a area around, so you could totally frame that. That's so pretty. Such a cute little one. So that's that. Thanks for painting with me, you guys. Really enjoy our time together, and I like creating with you and for you. I love seeing your pictures. I love what you're doing. Thank you for posting them. Make sure you post them on my art page. I love seeing that, and I know it's encouraging to everybody else to see the examples of other people working on their art, and how it looks different coming through each of us. We all have our filters, we all have our ways of seeing the world, and it's a good thing. It's beautiful that we're all different. So yeah, post them, let us know, let us see your art, let us see what you've made. And if you are going beyond this, you're making your own things, I would love to see them. That's just a fun place. This is a fun place to share our art, share our creativity, and just be together for a little while each day. So thank you for joining me. I pray blessings and peace and wholeness and grace to all of your homes, and have a good week. Well, I'll see you tomorrow.